本节目由全新雷克萨斯 ES 冠名播出。
Yet none of these things exists outside the stories that people invent and tell one another. There are no gods in the universe. No nations, no money, no human rights, no laws, and no justice outside the common imagination of human beings.
In the 20th century, there are some historians also ask this question. How this kind of tradition shape you?
And if you forget that humans are animals, you will never understand humanity, you will never understand human history. But my strength is that I still see the fictions, stories, their immense impact on human history. Wars and countries and economics is also shaped by imaginary stories in people's mind. If you don't take stories seriously, you will not understand humans.
But you said that the whole history is about story, but how to see the reality?
And things like money. It's a story, the story of the dollar that we agreed upon, but it's not the reality. The real answer is leave all these stories aside.
So you said you must create your own story.
No, you don't create your own story. You search for the truth about the reality about yourself, and the key thing is to really understand the reality about yourself.
So what do you think the major flaw of your theory? Have you ever think about it?
Of my theory?
Yeah, your perspective. You try to explain the whole world, the history, but what's the major flaw in the process?
Well, if I knew the major flaw, I would have corrected it. But there are definitely flaws.
Do you have any kind of worry? Maybe I speak so much about the change, the process, but actually I don't understand very well. Do you have any concern? 与我同年出生的赫拉利，似乎可以将一切自圆其说。他认为凡事都是虚构的故事，包括我笃信的人文主义。相比他的确定答案，我缺少反驳的方式。让我尤为沮丧的是，他对人类精神力量的矮化。他那个呼啸而来的信息，好多人都不知道怎么反驳，就媒体就跟着他就走了。关键那些领域太复杂了，我也不懂。我真的是，就是自己也无知嘛，不知道怎么去提出更强有力的批评，没有，不知道，只是直觉上的感受。
就是您觉得他给了那么多笃定的答案，其实不是答案。
你看塑料袋飘过来，好漂亮啊，是吧？
你看，
捕捉一个，这集就叫答案在风中飘。
真实的答案。
对，我觉得答案在风中。
A different place.
Sorry for a very tight morning. Yeah.
Can I just ask everybody who doesn't have to be in the room to not be in the room?
Okay. Thank you. Do you feel bored? So
bored?
Many questions.
Some
you
questions
must repeat yourself.
Some questions repeat and some questions are new. So hopefully there is always at least one question which is completely new.
Do you feel surprised that you become a so global phenomenon?
Yes.
What's the feeling? You said you treat like a rock star. So what's the reason for yourself?
I guess that I'm the kind of questions that interest me are now very relevant to people all over the world, and I engage with them in accessible language that the general public can understand. I mean, there are other people who are also doing research on similar topics, but they write or they talk in such a complicated way that nobody except a handful of other professors can understand what they say. And they reach new insights and new theories. And then you need people like me who take these insights and theories and bring them to the general public.
Do you worry about that maybe you simplified their theory, or you simplify the whole history of humankind? Do you worry about it?
Yes, I mean, this is a constant worry. It has to be done, because if you want to write the history of the world in 500 pages, you have to simplify. How do you say? Throw away the baby with the bathwater. Yeah. I mean, you have to preserve some key insights, some key ideas. Otherwise, what's the point?
Talk about insight as a medieval historian.
Yeah.
I mean, historian training shape your view now.
It gives you a much broader perspective on the current and future developments. And if you look at the 19th century Industrial Revolution, a country like Britain or Germany became a powerful empire because it industrialized first. But then a country like China or like Korea suffered tremendously. It was occupied and exploited by the industrial powers. So some things repeat themselves. Every invention, every discovery usually creates new inequality. As a historian, I can raise a warning that it's very unlikely that the new powers of artificial intelligence will be shared equally between all the countries in the world. It's much more likely that some countries will lead this new revolution. They will be able to dominate and conquer and exploit all the others in an even more extreme way. So some things repeat themselves, but other things are really different. I would say that maybe the most important difference is that in the past, almost all the inventions and discoveries, they gave people control of the world outside. We learned how to control the other animals, the forests, the rivers, but we never gained much power over the world inside us. And this is the big change that will happen in the 21st century. Powers we are gaining is power over the internal world, to re-engineer and manufacture bodies and brains and minds. I think Earth will be dominated by entities which are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals or from chimpanzees.
Do you feel that maybe sometimes you underestimated the human spirit? I mean, from late 19th century, maybe from Freud, they tried to explore your psychology. And also Virginia Woolf said the human spirit changed totally. But really change?
You are right. We know very little about the mind and about the spirit or the psychology of humans. It won't prevent us from gaining immense manipulative powers over ourselves. And this is one of the dangers. We had control, we had power to manipulate the world outside. We didn't understand the ecological system. And the same thing may happen with the world inside. We are far from understanding the human spirit or the human mind. And the result may be that we will face a mental collapse, similar to the ecological collapse we are seeing now. I think we are facing the danger of the distractions.
Maybe human spirit is much more adaptive than we think and we imagine.
It is very adaptive. That's certainly true. And we see it here that we still have the Stone Age bodies and Stone Age brains, and here we are flying in airplanes and living in big cities and so forth. So we have an amazing ability to adapt. But what we see is a process of domestication of humans. We adapt the abilities that the economic system needs from us, the political system needs from us, but we neglect many other potential abilities that are deteriorating. This is what happened to the other domesticated animals. We created cows that produce enormous amounts of milk, but otherwise they are far less capable than wild cattle. Now, what the economic system needs from us is to constantly connect to the communication system. And all the new technologies, what they are doing is drawing us out of our body, disconnecting us from our senses, from our body, and connecting us instead to cyberspace. If you don't feel at home in your body, you will never feel at home in the world. My impression is that the number one cause for the feeling of alienation and stress, which has huge economic advantages, but the mental price is very, very big. As a historian, most of the insights you gain by looking at how things changed in the past. But then once you understand the mechanism of change, you can use this understanding to try and say something about the future.
How do you evaluate your own visionary capability?
I hope they are good. I think history is really the study of change.
Yeah.
Historians, their speciality is to study how things change in the world.
I mean, it's so funny or very paradoxical. You're trained as a historian, but people ask you like you are a prophet about future. So how do you think about it?
Now, of course, and I try to clarify it, but people don't always want to listen. I try to clarify it that I'm not a prophet. I'm not making predictions. Nobody knows what the world would be like in 30 or 50 years. It's impossible.
Now, many people read your books because they want to survive in the future.
Yes.
It's become a new social Darwinism. So how do you react to it? I mean, they are reading.
Well, this is one of the problems of writing books and being an author, that you have no control of the way in which people read your books.
Yeah.
And I see it in many cases, like I write a passage in an ironic tone. For me, it's obvious that this is irony. And I think everybody who reads it will understand. I don't mean it seriously. It's just an irony.
They didn't get it.
And they don't get it. I mean, they read it in a completely flat and serious way. And they understand exactly the opposite of what I intended.
So when you were on the stage, you talk about this. So you feel strong alienated from the reality?
So it sometimes happens with some people, and you just have to accept that. I mean, there is no way to write something that people will always understand. You think about, I don't know, say the Bible. So you have Jesus coming and telling his disciples, if somebody slaps you on the cheek, turn the other cheek. And you should have only love for all people. And somehow people read this and they burn heretics and they start religious wars. I mean, how, if it's possible to get from Jesus to religious wars, then people can just, do with texts almost anything they like.
Okay.
I mean, again, I don't try to predict the future. I try to point out different possibilities, and I hope that, like Huxley, I'm offering an interesting vision.
Yeah. Okay. Do you mind people call you guru?
I don't like it, but I have no control over them.
Okay. Hope to see you in Israel. Maybe we are maybe plan to go there to see you there, Israel.
Thank you. It was a very interesting. It's not the usual questions.
Yeah, we should talk more maybe next time. Okay. Take care.
You too.
来这里吃饭的以色列人多吗？犹太人？
阿拉伯人根本上就没有，但是犹太人
很多。
我有几十年的客人，几代人都在我这里吃饭。
当时79年来说，这里危险吗？这里问题多吗？
以色列一直都有问题，到今天为止，昨天为止都有问题。
这个阿拉伯世界的冲突，
几次以色列的战争我都在这里。1982年就是打黎巴嫩，对，那个时候打黎巴嫩的时候，很多人美国来的，其他国家来的犹太人，他们在街上里被等，然后就有车子把他们送走，送到前线去。我问他们我自己愿意来的。
这边也有自杀性爆炸嘛？
很多，这个我亲眼看到的。
在哪里？什么样子？
这里39号
39号。
这旁边那里晚上也是爆炸了。他2个公交车啊，他等那个公交车到站的时候，这个公交车到站，那个恐怖事件引爆，2个公交车的人死伤很多人。他爆了以后，还有第2个人看到你们很多人在这里，第2个人进来爆了。
什么时候爆炸最严重啊？
一直都有。我们都已经怕。
现在是少一些了，是吧？
没有了，根本上没有。
现在没有了。就因为建那个墙，是不是？
是，
很有效，是吧？
有效。
但是巴勒斯坦人就很愤怒嘛，建这个墙，
把人与人之间都分开了。以前有现今记载的时候是犹太人的地方，后来犹太人2000多年的时候，他们这人就散掉了，逃到全世界的地方去了。以后阿拉伯人进来这里，生活了1000多年，他们也是当这里是他们的一辈子，他们的家。所以我觉得应该有和平的一点，大家都应该互相体谅一下。大家互相残杀，这不是一个好的解决方法。
哇，这么高这个墙，
比那个柏林墙高多了。
对啊，高太多了，这得有什么8米、10米高。耶路撒冷是一座有着3000年历史的古城，也是犹太教、基督教、伊斯兰教的发源地。
有一个小平台，你望出去，居然可以看到2个宗教的地标性建筑物，一个呢是西墙，一个呢是金顶。
与耶路撒冷相距1小时车程的特拉维夫，却是一座引领世界科技的现代都市。我相约赫拉利在这儿再次见面，我很好奇，如此复杂的环境对他的影响是什么。Hi, see you again.
Hello.
Hi, see you again. See you again.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, yeah.
Nice to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you. So where to go? We need the car.
Yeah, we are ready.
Yeah, please. You know, I just traveled from Jerusalem, the old city. You see the different culture, different religion, and I mean very mixed culture, and lots of burden from history. Is there a kind of Israeli mentality? Could you describe it?
As a tourist, maybe you go there. Oh, it's very interesting. Or you see all the old places. All this is where Jesus was, and so forth. But you live there. The amount of hatred in that place. It's like a nuclear reactor of hatred. You know, religion can be a wonderful thing, but when you live in Jerusalem, you realize that it can be a terrible thing.
Yeah.
How much hatred and anger. Ideally, a temple or a religious place is a place where you go in order to experience peace and harmony. If you go to a temple and you experience hatred and anger, then this is a dysfunctional temple. It's not working, you know. It's like going to a hospital and getting back even more sick. So Jerusalem for me is a dysfunctional temple.
How this kind of things shape your mind, shape your...
The influence on me, if this is what you ask, it obviously has an impact. Yeah. I mean, if you live in a place like Silicon Valley, maybe you can have this kind of utopian vision of a world governed by science and by rationality and things like that. But if you live in the Middle East, it's obvious to you that you cannot escape this tension. because all around you people are killing each other because of their belief in fictional stories.
Yeah.
So it's very clear to you that fiction is an extremely powerful thing. My house, the village where I live, is exactly middle of the way between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. On the one hand, I'm very connected to this world of Tel Aviv.
Yeah, modern technology,
modern
world, yeah.
high tech, all that, and on the other hand, very connected to Jerusalem with all the religion and mythology, and especially this is why I think much of my writing and scholarship is about this tension between the modern world of the 21st century and artificial intelligence and all that, and on the other hand, the still great impact of all these mythologies and fictional stories and religions.
When did you notice the tension? When did you notice the hatred of religions and
I think only when I left Israel and I went to do my PhD in Oxford, then I realized how much tension there is in the place. Or when you're born into it, you think, well, this is how the world is, and only when you go out, you realize, no, this is not how the world is.
Tell me more about your self-searching in Oxford, your life, your thinking, your mentality, how the change happened.
How the change happened.
Yeah.
Well, I went to Oxford to do my PhD on military history. I was always very interested in the big questions of life.
Yeah.
What are we doing here, and what is the meaning of life, and what is the source of suffering in the world, and things like that. But I got the impression that you couldn't really engage with these questions in the academic world. The academic world is kind of pushing you to focus on more and more narrow and specialized questions. On a parallel track, I'm personally very engaged and interested in these big philosophical questions.
Big tension for you.
Yeah. When I got my tenure at the university, I felt that, okay, now I'm kind of secure. Now they can't do anything to me. Some terrible crime, like you murder the dean or something, they can't touch you. So I try and reconnect the two tracks with these big questions about humanity and about life. I guess it was luck had something to do with it, but it was very successful.
In the 20th century, there are some historians also ask big questions like Arnold Toynbee, H.G. Wells. How this kind of tradition shaped you?
Influenced me.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest influence on me, I think, was from Jared Diamond.
Jared Diamond.
He was a specialist in birds.
Yeah.
He was the one who came and kind of showed the historians, look, you can do these things to, like, looking at humans from a bird's eye view.
From bird to bird view.
Yeah.
So you're comparing Jared Diamond. What's your advantage and disadvantage of your books?
Their strength compared with me is that I don't really have any background in biology. But if you just know biology, if you just understand evolution and you know everything there is to know about humans, you can now explain human history. I don't think that this can work because human history also has a very important ingredient of culture, of ideas, of stories, of fictions. And this is kind of my speciality, the exploration and understanding of fictions and mythologies and stories and their immense impact on human history. And if you don't give enough importance to the stories, to the fictions, you will never understand something like the Second World War, or like the French Revolution, or like the rise of Christianity. There was no biological or geographical explanation.
So what do you think the major flaw of your theory? Have you ever think about it?
Of my theory?
Yeah, your perspective. You try to explain the whole world, the history, but what's the major flaw in the process?
Well, if I knew the major flaw, I would have corrected it. But there are definitely flaws.
Do you have any kind of worry? Maybe I speak so much about the change, the process, but actually I don't understand very well. Do you have any kind of concern?
There are many areas.
Because your tongue in the books is so confident. So,
yes.
Yeah.
There are many areas that I talk about and I have no first-hand experience. I just rely on what the experts in the field say and I believe them. And I have no ability to kind of verify for myself that what I'm saying is true. I just believe them. So it's only second-hand knowledge. I read articles and books about artificial intelligence and what are the principles behind the program, behind the machine learning. So I trust that they are right. I hope that they are not kind of, making this colossal mistake and leading the entire world after them.
Yes. Okay. Oh, welcome.
So in your book, you also mention about the global meaning crisis. Actually, people don't know who they are and they lost identity. So how to cope with it, from your point of view? How to deal with the phenomenon? We can't come back. We can't go back.
We can't go back. This should be very clear.
Yeah,
the road
must create
back.
new. Yeah, what's new? What's the new meaning?
I think that always the key is to get to know ourselves better. When people ask what is the meaning of life, they usually expect to be told some story about the universe, which gives them some role to play. You have the Jewish story, the Christian story, the national story, but all these stories are false because the universe doesn't work as a story. It exists today in the world, not Israel, not Japan, not Greece, not Egypt. None of them existed 5,000 years ago. Humans coming out of Africa, the first cave art, the farming, the invention of farming, of agriculture, the invention of writing, of money, the first cities, all these things happened long before any of the nations that today exist appeared. So none of them offers you an eternal truth. And I think that what the real answer to this search for meaning is leave all these stories aside. And the key thing is to really understand the reality about yourself. So there are many tools to do it, from meditation to the tools of science, that to really explore what is the body, what is the brain, what is happening within me. If you really know the truth about yourself, I don't think that you need any of these stories anymore.
So you say you must create your own story.
No, you don't create your own story. You search for the truth, about the reality about yourself.
But you said the whole history is about story, but how to see the reality. But people never live in the kind of true reality, mostly fictional.
Yes, as I said, in order to live in society, in order to have a functioning social order, you must have all these kinds of stories. They're useful as tools. You cannot build societies without a story in which people believe. But it's the same in the case of entire nations and religions. You can't organize millions of people together if they don't agree on some common story and common laws. So we need these things. But they are just tools. They are not the ultimate reality. If you mistake these imaginary stories for the ultimate reality, then you will never know the truth about yourself, and you will start usually sacrificing people for the sake of imaginary story, like what is happening in the Middle East all the times.